Hey guys, in this video, I'm gonna take my experience of learning to speak 2 foreign languages fluently, and I'm gonna share what I would do if I wanted to learn another language completely from zero. This is something that I've mastered over the past few years, both teaching and learning languages. And my students always ask me for the best tips to quickly and efficiently achieve fluency in a language. Actually, my resolution for this year is to learn a new language, and I'm a little bit nervous to share this with you all because if I share this here, I have to commit to it. But I want to learn French, and I'm going to finally do it this year. So in this video, I'm gonna give you the best advice to start learning a new language from zero. Whether you're learning English, Spanish, or even Korean, I'm sure these tips will be very useful for you. After all, this is what I'm gonna do to learn French. First, I would focus on pronunciation. When I first started studying Spanish, we spent a lot of time on grammar and vocabulary concepts. And I realize now that this was a mistake. This is the traditional way that teachers teach languages, right? Focus on vocabulary, read from the textbook, focus a lot of time on grammar. But actually, that's not how I would learn a new language. I would first practice pronunciation, and I'll tell you why. I'm currently reading the book Fluent Forever, and I'm gonna read you all a quote from this book that's really useful to understand why you should actually focus on pronunciation rather than grammar from the beginning. He says, "In the course of mastering the sounds of a language, our ears become attuned to those sounds, making vocabulary acquisition, listening comprehension, and speaking come much more quickly. While we're at it, we pick up a snazzy, accurate accent." So basically, as we practice pronunciation, we can acquire a lot of new words, we start to understand grammar even better, and from the beginning, we work on speaking and we work on improving our accent. So this is how you're gonna quickly be able to achieve fluency. If you wait until you've already been studying for a year or two to practice your pronunciation, you're going to notice that you can't understand native speakers and you can't speak with an accurate accent. So even if you know the words and you know the grammar, you might make some pronunciation mistakes that makes it difficult for native speakers to understand you. So that's why I would focus on pronunciation first. And there's another key here to why I personally would focus on pronunciation, because I'm going to learn French. So since I'm a native English speaker and I want to learn French, I should definitely focus on pronunciation. And I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna read you another quote from this book that is gonna explain it all. The author says, "English vocabulary is 28% French and 28% Latin. As soon as an English speaker learns proper French pronunciation, he already knows thousands of words," which is a huge bonus for me and for anyone who might want to learn French, because as English speakers, a large part of our vocabulary comes from French. So once we master the pronunciation and understand the pronunciation, which French pronunciation is quite difficult, once we can master it, then we already know many words. And also because I speak Spanish, that just means that it's even gonna be quicker for me to learn French. So guys, focus first on pronunciation. Also, I would make a plan. Guys, please don't leave it up to chance. Don't be the typical person who says, "I'll just study whenever I have time," or "I'll take a class whenever I have a free time." No, make this a part of your routine. If you really want to become fluent, you really need to dedicate a lot of time. I personally started studying Spanish in university, and my teacher made the study plan for me, right? She sent me the homework, she sent me the readings, the writing practice, listening practice, so I didn't have much control over what input I was receiving. I studied a lot of history, right? Which was interesting, but it wasn't useful on a daily basis. So nowadays, I would definitely make a plan that's relevant to my lifestyle and to my routine. So I'm gonna show you my French learning plan. This is the study plan that I'm going to apply to my French studies. So I'm going to go through and just explain to you guys like what I would do every day throughout the week to practice my French. And keep in mind, there's a lot here, but I would practice maybe an hour a day. If I'm really feeling it and I really am having fun, I might add some more time. But an hour a day is enough for me. And it also doesn't need to be consecutive. I would do maybe 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the afternoon. So on Mondays, I would choose my topic for the week. Whether that's a vocabulary topic, whether that's a grammar topic, I would definitely make that decision on Monday. And everything that I do throughout the week is going to be based on this vocabulary or grammar topic. Now, on Tuesday, I would definitely do some listening. I would listen to a podcast. This is where I'm going to take notes of different words in French. I'm going to do shadowing. So I will repeat what I hear in the podcast just to practice that pronunciation. On Wednesday, I'm going to do some reading and I'm going to read out loud. This is going to get my mouth practicing the different sounds in French, and it's going to connect my mouth to my brain to make me remember a few words and start really acquiring more words and vocabulary. Now, on Thursday, I would review. Review is so important. I would review everything that I did on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And why would I review? I would review all my notes because on Friday, I'm going to do a speaking class. So I'm going to have a conversation class or a pronunciation class with a native speaker. And I personally would do this class through italki, which will get into how you can practice your speaking and what platforms you can use in a little bit. But just letting you know, I would take class on Fridays with a native speaker. In these classes, I would practice pronunciation. I probably wouldn't want to do reading. I would really try to learn different words and just really get that input from this native speaker. On the weekends, I want to make my routine fun. I will definitely watch a movie in French. And on Sunday, I'm going to listen to music. Listen to a few songs, but not passively. I'm going to actively listen to these songs and actually read the lyrics. So, this is my French study routine, guys. And this, I want you to really think about your daily routine. I want you to think about your lifestyle. I want you to think about your work schedule and think about how you can apply at least an hour a day to your studies, even if you have to split it up in 30-minute breaks or 15-minute breaks. How can you fit listening, reading, writing, and vocabulary practice and speaking practice into your routine? And then, of course, at lunchtime, I would definitely watch a series. I would watch a series in French. I personally love watching reality TV in my target language. I think I watched all of the reality TV series in Brazilian Portuguese on Netflix because I want to have contact with the way that native speakers speak. I mean, I want to listen to the slang. I want to listen to contractions. I want to hear the different phrases and expressions that are used, and I want to understand the rhythm. I want to hear that natural rhythm. The thing about studying with language learning podcasts is that you'll learn a ton and you'll probably understand a lot, but it's not the natural way that native speakers speak. So it can be quite difficult to listen to series from the beginning, but challenge yourself to do it. That's what I would do. Even though honestly I don't understand much French at all, I watched a few series already, and it's frustrating because you have to read along with the subtitles quite a lot, but with time you start training your ears and acquiring a lot of new words and grammar. So do it, guys. So find a way to fit all of the different aspects into your routine and actually make a routine for yourself. Please learn relevant vocabulary. So a lot of times when we're studying in a traditional school setting, our teachers want us to memorize 20 colors in English and all of these random vocabulary lists. And honestly, do I need to know like 20 or 50 colors in French? No, I don't. It's not useful. It's not relevant to my daily life. If you're a designer, knowing all of the different colors in a language might be useful. But if not, then don't waste your mental time and energy on learning all of these random like animal vocabulary. Learn something relevant. You know, if you're a vet, learn animal vocabulary, learn some different medicines, learn some different illnesses. If you're a construction worker, maybe learn different tools and different actions with your body, right? So I want you to look at your job, look at your hobbies, look at your daily life and your interests, and actually think, what kind of vocabulary do I need? What do I already use in my native language? Let's learn that in my target language. I personally love to dance, so I might learn some vocabulary related to dance. I love to travel, so that's a relevant topic for my life. So think about what's relevant for your life and don't waste your mental energy on studying random plants in a different language if you're not a gardener. Now, I want you to practice listening every single day. And listening is probably the easiest thing to practice when it comes to language learning because there are thousands of resources out there. Music, from podcasts, videos, even video games. There are so many ways to practice your listening, but we really do need to distinguish between passive listening and active listening. Passive listening is when you just put a playlist on in the background and you're working or you're cleaning your house. You can do passive listening, but I want you to focus on active listening. Active listening is what we do when we're listening to something and we're really absorbing the information. We're thinking about the concepts that we're listening to, and we might even try to respond to those concepts. So a few resources that I would have in my listening toolbox for language learning would be a good playlist. For beginners, I would try to go for maybe slow pop music. Then once you get to the intermediate level, you can go to more popular culture stuff like rap, that kind of stuff that's a little bit more quick. But I would have a good playlist in my target language. A podcast for language learners, because I'm a beginner, I do need to start at the beginner level, and I would have a few different series on Netflix. I might even subscribe to some YouTube channels from some French creators. And as I mentioned, some Netflix series in that language that you want to learn, and find a time, maybe when you're snacking, maybe on the bus on the way to work, when you're eating your lunch, just try to watch a very short episode and try to get into that culture and the context of that language. The next tip is something that I wish I did when I started studying Spanish. But before I share that with you, go give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and let me know down in the comment section. Do you want to learn a new language this year? Guys, work on speaking from the very beginning. The mistake that I see from many students is that they spend months or years studying grammar, studying vocabulary, buying online self-study courses, and they never really get a feel or practice, conversation practice. And this is the mistake that I also made in Spanish because, as I said, I studied in the traditional school setting. So I spent a lot of time in textbooks, reading, writing, but when it came to practicing conversation, I froze. And also there wasn't much time for me to really get into the conversation and practice a lot. So I want you to not spend too much time on grammar and vocabulary, but try to get yourself speaking. From the very beginning, I want you to find ways to practice your speaking. And one way that you can do this is maybe just having a prompt for yourself and recording yourself on your phone. Grab your phone, record yourself, and just try to talk to yourself for a minute. Now what you can also do is after a month and you've already have some recordings practicing for 1 minute, move it up to 2 minutes. Okay, now I'm gonna talk about my day in French for 2 minutes and record yourself speaking for 2 minutes. I would also recommend taking classes with a tutor. I personally will take some conversation classes with a French person on italki, and this is actually how I started practicing my Portuguese. I had a wonderful Brazilian tutor, and we had class every week on Fridays to practice speaking and have conversation. But a little disclaimer here, I did start taking speaking classes and conversation classes on italki when I already had a basic knowledge of Portuguese. I could already have a very basic conversation. And it might be a little bit frustrating for you to go on italki and try to have a conversation if you have no knowledge. So that might not be the way to go. Italki is great for conversation practice, but if you're a complete beginner, I wouldn't recommend it. And that's because often italki tutors are unprepared. That's actually something that happened to me when I first started taking classes on italki. I noticed that some tutors would just show up and not have any lesson plan prepared. Even though I already told them like what my goals are, what my level is, they would just show up and like ask me, how's the weather today? Where are you from? You know, the basic small talk. And I had class with about 10 tutors, and I realized a lot of them are really unprepared because it's a very quick consumption website. So it's not the best place for beginners. It's good for intermediate learners to practice and have different, contact with different accents. But if you're a complete beginner, I wouldn't recommend it. If you're a person who struggles to stay motivated and dedicated to your language learning process, I wouldn't recommend italki. It might be better for you to take a course with an actual teacher. If you're looking for help to create a more personalized study plan, if you want to learn either English or Spanish, you can take classes at my language academy. I, along with a team of wonderful teachers, take the time to really understand each student's needs and level, and we create adapted materials and classes to make sure that every student achieves their goal. We're never just gonna read along with a textbook or talk about some random irrelevant topic. So if you're interested in learning English or Spanish, I'll leave you some more information down in the description. Another wonderful technique for language learners is to practice shadowing. Shadowing is a technique that will help you really develop your speaking. Because when you hear a native speaker saying something, if you're watching a show or you're listening to a podcast, you can pause and repeat what that person said, and this will help you to practice the pronunciation, the accent, and the rhythm, and that natural flow of the language. So what you should do is listen to a native speaker speaking and repeat aloud, word for word, what that person says. I'm going to show you all an example. I saw this interview earlier with Rosalia, and I thought that it would be perfect because she's saying a lot of words that are very common in Spaniard Spanish. So I'm going to show you this shadowing technique and what it looks like.
Aunque...
Lana me encantaría.
Lana.
Jo, sí, y es que la escucho mucho últimamente.
She says, oh, sí, es que lo escucho mucho últimamente. So what I would do, I would also repeat various times.
Aunque...
Lana me encantaría.
Lana.
Jo, sí, y es que la escucho mucho últimamente.
Oh, sí, es que la escucho mucho últimamente. Good, right? So this is what you can do to really practice a particular accent or a particular word that you don't know. And it can be quite frustrating to watch videos and, sentence by sentence, shadow the whole episode. I mean, it would take you 3 hours to do one Netflix episode. So I'm not saying that you should pause after every sentence when you're watching a series. What I'm saying is that when you hear a phrase that's new for you, a word that's new for you, or if you hear slang, some kind of slang words or expressions that native speakers use in that language, press pause and repeat word for word what that person said. That's going to help you with the natural flow of the language. That's going to help you also with the accent, and obviously you're going to learn new words and phrases. Don't focus too much on grammar. Honestly, guys, if I was studying a new language, I would not focus too much on grammar. We acquire grammar naturally as we listen to the language, as we practice speaking, and as we read. So don't spend your time reading through a grammar book. Of course, grammar is important and you will have to study the main structures, but don't make it the main focus of your studies. Also, pay attention to what's actually useful for you. What's actually useful for your lifestyle? What are some structures that you use every day in your native language? And think about applying those in your target language. And again, when you study any kind of concept, whether that's grammar or vocabulary, take notes and try to actively use it in your speaking lessons. This is the only way to move it from your passive memory to your active memory. In my English courses, we use the textbook English for Everyone, which is a great resource because it includes in every chapter one grammar concept, one vocabulary concept, and it uses activities to make this useful in real life. You always want to try to use your grammar and vocabulary concepts in real life situations. So my tip to improve your grammar is to find one good book or website and study only one grammar concept a week. I want you to read out loud and try to use it when you're speaking. When it comes to reading, it's good to read whether you're reading only in your mind or out loud. But when you have the chance, it's great to read out loud because it actually makes you use these words and train your pronunciation and those muscles in your mouth to pronounce better. Reading is a natural way for you to acquire grammar, acquire vocabulary and new expressions, and it's a good way for you to learn how to create sentences naturally in that language. Even if you don't understand every single word, that's not the most important part. What's most important is for you to understand the main concept and learn a few new words here and there, and also about the culture of your target language. So guys, those are the main things that I would do if I wanted to learn a new language this year. And I'll be using these techniques to learn French, so stay tuned because I'm gonna be sharing my progress with you all. If you liked this video, I think you'll like this one, so go watch that and I'll see you next week. Bye!